Welcome to the third season of Afros and Audio interview series. My guest today is Keisha TK Dutes. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here, Talib. Thank you for having me, bro.
Absolutely. We're going to jump in. I can't start this episode without sharing my absolute love and respect for you and who you are. I remember meeting you in 2019 at the first conference. You and Conscious, your creative life partner, had just been retired, and I could have it wrong, so you helped me, by the Makata Museum. You were in a transition at that time with the work that you were doing. And I was just in awe that you all said yes and decided to show up in Brooklyn to my little engine that could, first inaugural Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. And ever since then, we've just been rocking out. But that was the beginning of this relationship.
Yeah, no, you were so gracious to have us on to just talk our shit. And I just never forgot the welcoming, like how everybody was. And it was just like a space for us, for Black people. And especially in a time for us, me and C were in transition from the morning show, TK and the AM. But we continued Bondfire Radio, which is the umbrella it was under, our online radio station, actually till last year. So we were out of transition for ourselves and into let's just manage people. Because it takes a toll on you. 6 years, 3 times a week, live, responding to news. And every time I see something happen on the news today, I'm like, man, that would have been me probably responding to that, right? That would have been me taking in all that stress. That would have been me. But when you don't have the resources to take care of that stress that comes inside of your body from exposing yourself and reporting on and taking in opinions, then you need to do something. So we had to just take a break from it. And so that's when you met us, when we were starting to learn what that break looked like.
Yeah. You and C and have just been exceptional at the work that you have deliberately and intentionally done over the years. And so I'm grateful to have been able to go on some of these journeys with you, including sunsetting Bondfire Radio, being able to listen. I wasn't there physically, but I was there. I was there for that. I just appreciate you, and I wanted to say that. And then, of course, it came full circle for me, and I would say for yourself as well, this past conference, 2024, when we were able to honor you as a legend at the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. And that, for me, was so important and impactful. And I respect Twyla Dang and Crystal Hill, but it was you for me. I would just say, it was you for me in a way that I really understood that you deserve so many flowers, whether it's from us and everybody else that you still deserve flowers from. So again, insane, but I love you. I appreciate you. And I respect you.
Thank you, bro. I love you too. For real. I always tell people, game recognized, game always first, right? I consider myself Black famous. That other place, honestly, they have not shown me any behaviors that show that they want us there and that I want to be there because of that. So I prefer to be recognized by my people first and always. So I appreciate y'all for that. And it was very dope to be awarded that with 2 other people that also have been putting in crazy work. So it's at least you can measure up who you are against the other people and be like, I bet this is real. They're not slouches.
Absolutely.
I'm not a slouch. So this is real. Let's go.
Yeah. Word. Thank you for being who you are in this space. And then I got questions that I'm going to ask you now. You worked across terrestrial radio, online media, and podcasting since 2005. How has the craft of audio storytelling evolved for you over the years?
You took me back. 2005, I was on terrestrial, left-wing radio, public radio, WBAI. It's a Pacifica station. That kind of followed that public radio model, but also an anarchist model. So it's like weird because it shaped where I was going to go. Because these people, they come on every night to New York City, thousands of people listening, and they're just giving this no dead air, to the minute, organized. That's like the pedigree that I came from. Working with a group, it was like an ever-changing group of young people at any given moment. So we had to adapt people's personalities, which then when fast forward 10 years, when I officially called myself going into podcasting, when someone gave me a job, I'm realizing a lot of that stuff computed. I could not be in podcasting without having been in regular terrestrial radio, because some of the stuff that people be so nervous about right now, there's no reason to be nervous. If you do your research, if you have your talking points, if you know your segments, there's no reason for dead air. But I'm realizing what's changed is a lot of people don't have that kind of to the minute thinking, to the minute training. Okay, what do I do if this doesn't work? In podcasting, you just go back, delete, say it again, delete, say it again, delete, say it again.
Mhm.
So I'm always striving to get it right. I might not get it right the first time, but like the first 3 times. And then if not, you know what they say in journalism, if you can't get it quite right, or if the question is not landing, change the way you ask it again. It's just changed in that sort of way where there's more people relying on technology and scripting versus their brain, which might lead us into a whole conversation about relying too much on technology, too much on the AI. Like, what happens when this shit breaks down? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's almost being a person of a certain age like myself and having to learn how to drive with no lights on the side of the mirror when a car passes you, or without the rear view. The people who are learning to drive with that technology, I hope you forever have that technology, because if you don't, you won't know half the shit that you need to know to just survive in a car. It's the same thing with this, and no shade, because what a time to be alive. All the technology exists, but it's like doing a training, a workshop, and you have your slides and your talking points, and the shit ain't working in that room. It's you and you now. You know,
you still got to give them a show.
Absolutely. It's the conversation is the importance of understanding that awesome technology exists. Regardless, who are you in the room? What are you doing? What are you creating? What are you creating for yourself? What are you creating for others? And if this were to go all black, who are you? How do you identify that? Are you still capable of doing the work? And you should be. And that's our cautionary tale, is that make sure that you can, with or without.
Yeah. When the electricity goes down or whatever, your pointer doesn't work, you still got to give them a show.
Yep.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah. What excites you most about audio as a medium for storytelling, especially in the podcasting space?
And what excites me is also what scares me, because anyone can do it. That excites me. Anyone can do it. I enjoy sharing that, like, the building blocks with people when they're like, TK, I want to do this. I have this idea. Awesome. Because that shows me the fact that you're asking for help with your idea just shows me like you're on a level of seriousness. But there are the folks that are not asking for help with their ideas, or that are not feeling, they're just like flying by the seat of their pants. They just go buy a microphone on Amazon and they just think whatever they post up is what they post up. The scary part of the barrier to entry in this field being so low. But what I'm really, really excited about is our evolution. Shout out to us, but real talk, for a long time, we were really like leaning heavy on conversational chat shows. And still, we do have that. It's just easy. You show up, you do the thing. And if you're good, and if you're great, and if you're bad, but who cares, right? No one's listening. But like, for a long time, we were leaning so heavy on conversation and chat shows that we weren't expanding our horizons in like drama, in true crime, these other niches, like this how-to. And I'm like, man, because there's so much inside of us. Like, Black people, we invented anything that white people ain't want to do. This is my fucking view. Anything that white people ain't want to do, Black people just invented it because it would make our ancestors' lives easier. So like, why are we not expanding the way that our ancestors had expanded ideations of how to live and how to make their lives easier and like how to explain concepts to people? We should be doing this in podcasts, expanding our minds, expanding our genres, expanding our niches. So I'm excited for the way that we're expanding. Took me a minute to get there, but I got there.
No, I respect it. And you're right. When Afros in Audio was established in 2018, it was specific to audio dramas. I didn't even think about what this is today. because I created an audio drama in 2017.
Okay.
And I was looking for more people that looked like me in the audio drama space. And I wanted to create same type of community, online resources and tools and support that I could get and receive and that I could provide.
Okay.
2017. And so now, to your point, it's one of those things where we really want us to think about that models and status quo is not what supports us as people, right? It might be what they say works. It might be what they say is what you need to put out, but that doesn't mean anything to us, really. There are no rules when it comes to something that you can truly invent in. So why are we not being more innovative? It's not to say that it's not happening. We see it happening, but there are minds out there that would blow podcasting, the genre and the way in which it's formatted and the frequencies and all of that out of the water. But what we see is a lot of kind of cookie cutter content and ways of approaching this market that will keep us at a level until we blow past it.
Yeah. And we have to blow past it. And it's always tough because as Black people, we're blueprint a lot of times, right? We're the first experimenters, right? And then someone picks it up and they run with it. For example, like we have all this innovation in our design and in our art. And then when mainstream culture, read white culture, once they take that baton and run with it, it's, yo, I'm seeing my neighbor get rich off some shit I did first. And I'm like, why couldn't I just get rich the first time around, right? Like, why wasn't the nails and the earrings and the design, why can't that be enough? Why can't they believe that the Blackness inside of this product, it is the inherent value. But when they water it down, they're just more comfortable giving money to each other. So
yeah, there's that. All right. So you've mentioned mentorship as one of the most rewarding aspects of your work. What is one lesson you consistently share with new and emerging podcasters?
All right. New and emerging podcasters, you can plan everything. The show is on paper and you should plan everything. But when you get the tape, going to dictate what happens next. I'm working on other people's stuff. And the main thing I tell them is, this is great. I'm glad we have a plan. We're going to follow the plan. Thank you for following the plan. But you don't know what the guest is going to tell you. You don't know where the story is going to lead you. And are you willing to pivot? So if you're super type A and you're like, I really only want to talk to this person about their entrepreneurship journey, but then the entrepreneur talks about how their journey diverged and they went and did all this other stuff, you got to be willing to realize that this is part of their journey. So how are you going to treat this person's story now? Because it doesn't fit what you had in your mind. So it's tempting to take a template and just slot everybody in. But when you listen to your guests or you listen to the story, you listen to the conversation, the tape sometimes will change everything. So just being open to that, I think it's one of the things that folks don't realize till they're in it, till the tape changes on them. So all I could do is be like, okay, it's just, don't worry, it's fine. We're going to make a story, don't worry.
Yeah, I get what you're saying when it comes to, they had a plan, they knew what their episode was going to be about in their head.
Yeah.
And then the story goes off into mental, because if you talk to me, I'm going to take you to being a baby boy on the farm, to my mental health issues.
Yeah.
Here I am today. It's still fucked up in certain ways and it's still amazing in others. We're going to go through a whole thing. And if you wasn't with that, then I'd have messed your whole thing up.
And as the host now, am I willing to go there with you? And how do I keep that train on track, right? So if you start going mental health, I need to acknowledge that because that's important. It's vital to you. It is vital to your success, which is why we're probably here talking, right? But also, how do I bring that conversation back to where I want it to go?
Absolutely.
A flexibility that I be trying to tell people.
Yeah. Listen, most people are going to go rogue.
Yes.
Most people, 85% are going rogue.
We just need to be like, come on back, baby, with the love.
Right. I respect that. Okay. So how do you see mentorship shaping the future of Black podcasting and independent audio production?
So I would rather say, instead of mentorship, just like maybe calling it peer-to-peer education, peer sharing, because I'm no better than the person that's doing this, that, and the third. I just might have a little extra here and you have some other things here. And I'm like starting to identify those people in my world right now. And I'm like, okay, so how can I add value to whatever you're doing? And here's my request. I see that you have a thing that I don't know about. There's a lot of topics that I'm like, child, let me hit up these people. And I hope that I have something to offer. But I think peer-to-peer education in our field is vital. As my white counterparts come to a time in podcasting where they realize they too are not safe from all of the layoffs and all of this stuff, they are now realizing too, peer-to-peer education, peer-to-peer mentorship, all that shit is imperative to survival in this industry. So as an independent, now it's not just us that need it. Now it's not just us, right? The job boards are flooded with beautiful, wonderful, independent, corporate, every level of podcaster. So now the mainstream majority is realizing all we got is us, and by us, independence. We were already there. I just want us to know we had a head start doing peer-to-peer, and now here come everybody else. So take advantage of this time because people are giving and willing to share this information right now.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And one of the things that I think of Afros in audio is being able to strategize. I think of it sometimes as back in the day when we were having our meetings, whether we were enslaved Africans or during Jim Crow, we were somewhere having our own conversations about how we need to and have to move forward for our own freedom, liberation, success. And so it makes the spaces that we do create that are intentional and not just as capitalist driven or mainstream driven, but more us getting together to talk about how we navigate an industry that was not created for us to navigate in the first place.
Woo.
And so for me, the importance of Afros in audio is bigger than how it's ever marketed, because we market it for the consumer and for the person who wants to come and learn and have a good time or whatever for podcasting. But the revolutionary in me is very clear about why we're doing what we're doing and the necessity of it, and wanting more people to experience that so that we can move this forward, because I believe that it's up to us. If we're going to shape this industry in a way that benefits content creators for one fucking time in one damn industry, why can't it be this one?
Right. Why not?
Yeah. And we have to understand what's at stake. And what's at stake is that it will look like any and every other industry where we are passive or apathetic or feel powerless when we aren't. You've heard me say that without the podcast industry can't exist, which makes us the most powerful people in the room.
Yeah.
But if we don't know that or understand it in any way or any level to demand what we deserve and what we're worth, then it will do what any other industry does.
It's like a triangle, right? Like we're at the bottom, we're at the base. And I'm like, yo, there's no way that this industry, the executives on top of the triangle, they're making all this money, but you can't pay your rent. Make it make sense, right? The producers, I always say the producers and then the hosts, like I have a whole hierarchy in my head, are the lowest people on the ladder. You know what I'm saying? And the people that do the actual work. So when these companies are talking about our celebrity host and this presented by insert company here, that's cute. We love that for you. In that hierarchy, if you're proud of that show, if you love that show, I just want people to remember that there is a producer doing 7 jobs on that one show. And if they're lucky, they might have an associate producer. If they're lucky. And if they're lucky, they might have a person mixing the sound. But a lot of these places, they be like, Universal Studios brings this shit to you. And I'm like, Universal Studios, you didn't bring shit to me. Insert Podcaster X bought that shit to me. It's us at the bottom. And why can't we pay our rent? Why can't we pay mortgage off that? That's crazy.
We've still got a lot of work to do, in my opinion, for really understanding the power that we have and the opportunities that we truly have in a very viable industry and market that we have yet to understand how we could essentially take over in a lot of ways, but deliberately we don't know how to. And that's something that we've just got to navigate, in my opinion. And then when it comes to what we call independent, I've had some folks who, when I say Afros in Audio, formed by independent podcasters and audio professionals. And they're like, I'm a professional. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay. And that's independent. Yeah. But also understanding that you could be independent working for a conglomerate, because once that position goes away, you're back to being an independent.
Bro, it's super easy to be enticed by, and once you get to a certain level, and what we tend to do is leave shit behind. Get to a level, we're comfortable, the money's coming in regular, we're not worried about job security, whatever, and we leave shit behind. Then we don't come out to the events anymore. We're not mentoring no more. And you're not supposed to forsake all that because you're now a professional. It just means that like a corporation just gave you money, and there's other ways of being marked as a professional. I think anybody that has X years in the game without effing up, that's a professional, right?
Yeah.
Has something to say. That's a professional that like has receipts. Just because some company pays you, I think we tend to leave things behind because we think independent means broke.
Yeah.
Professional means paid. And I'm like, they actually don't. They don't.
Yeah. In my opinion, you independent, period. No matter what, because you're the only constant, and it's going to wax and wane with your career. So moving on, I could just talk to you about any damn thing. So we're going to keep it professional. Not that we have it, but you have an upcoming podcast that I'm super excited to talk to you about. The Secret Life of TK.
Yeah, bro.
It sounds like an exciting blend of personal storytelling, travel, collaborations. What inspired this format?
I've been working on other people's podcasts so long. I'm like, how would it be if I tapped into my own mind and showed everyone how I think, what I think? And I've basically been examining myself for the past couple years, how I communicate with people and how I like to be communicated with. And what I realized is just, I like a lot of stuff. And I don't necessarily want to be pigeonholed. And sometimes people have to see it to believe it. So like me going on these healing journeys, which came out of intense stress, intense grief, intense everything, bro. I was just trying to shake it off. And in my shaking off, I realized that I have a lot of things outside of who I am professionally, quote unquote, who I am as a daughter, who I am as an eldest sister. I have a lot of things going for me that I didn't even realize I wasn't tapping into. And sometimes I'm on Instagram and I'll show my like little adventures, and someone will be like, how did you do that? And I'm like, oh, babe, just swipe your credit card. If you're not scared, you could do it too, baby.
Yeah.
So I'm realizing that people are like, oh, I didn't realize like healing could look like this. I didn't realize that sometimes healing also looks like you're in a blanket burrito. So I'm like showing folks my mode of healing, which is going outside, sometimes being inside and being super introspective, but also in talking to people that give me life. I'm having conversations and I'm feeling like, wow, all the things that I was thinking, somebody else is thinking them too. And I want to know their journey, and I want to know what's healing them, because what's healing you might heal me too. So that's the Secret Life of TK right now. It's in progress. Folks can follow it. It's a little teaser up on the internet right now. So I just hope people get something out of it, because there's been some tears on them recordings. It's been some lost recordings. There's some stuff that I hope, if anybody's a data recovery person, hit me up, because I'm trying to get them off my phone. I have just different examples of how I've been just trying to explore the world, spiritual healing, mental wellness, outsideness.
Yeah, it's important, and I'm really looking forward to it because I've had the privilege and the pleasure of seeing from the outside and sometimes from the inside of the journey, the permissions that you've given yourself at a time where most people still don't get that we get to do a lot of things that we think that we don't get to. And watching you become liberated in that way has been inspiring, even for myself, who might stay connected to things way longer than I should because I feel like I have to.
I too am plagued with that.
Yeah. So it's important. And I know that what you do, again, having known you, it's always intentional and deliberate, but while being in exploration, while experiencing life.
And that's what I
experimenting.
realized
Yeah.
about the thing, bro. I'm in it. It's one thing to make podcasts for other people.
Yeah.
You got the directive. I'm going with it. This is me. So I got to separate it's like having two selves. And I'm realizing also this is my season of asking for others to be of service so that I can receive that. And so I'm working with different producers that I trust on each story. It's impossible for me to produce myself because I'm doing the activity. So I got different producers doing each quote unquote story. And I want to also highlight the diversity of our podcast world and the independence in it. So everything's going to taste different. Every episode is going to have a different flavor. And I don't know if this is going to work. This is probably the second biggest experiment of my life. Bondfire Radio was the first biggest experiment of my life. And one of my first loves of audio. This is going to be the second biggest experiment of my life. So I don't know, bro. I'm talking to you first.
But I think it's to the point that we were talking about in the early part of this conversation, this interview, is that this is unique. Like you working with different producers for each episode, and however long you carry that out. If it's 5, that's something, you know? And if you continue to do it, and I'm sure that it will be iterated and you'll figure out the secret sauce of how to do this. But the first thing to do is what you're doing, trying it on. And I think it is supportive. That, again, it expands the idea of, oh, I never thought to do that. What would that look like for my project? What would that look like for my podcast? It's so important. So I really respect and appreciate this approach to the podcast because it opens the mind. It's going to change how people think about how to do their podcast, who to hire, what the producers look like. Does it have to be the same team? It could be a different team. Oh, I never thought about that. Let's see.
Yeah, literally, we just be in the meeting like, hey guys, what are you doing? Like somebody might have this. I want to do the audio of you, but you in space, TK. I'm like, child, that's interesting. Let's see what that sounds like. There's people that come from theater in the group. There's people that come from very new backgrounds. But the whole thing is, I trust them. There's no secret life of TK. There's no story. There's no nothing like about me, like as a human being without the people that I trust next to me, right? Like you mentioned Conscious, my creative life partner. There's no iteration of TK winning the Legends Award. There's no iteration of TK without people I trust, period. And so I have to trust them to take these stories in a direction that like I fuck with.
Okay. That's interesting because when I first saw that's what you're doing, I assumed that you were creating the story or the episode and then the producer is doing the editing or whatever like that, but you actually doing it in reverse. It's still yours, but they're supporting the direction of the episode.
Yeah. So we all know how to make a show. So that's our baseline, right? We know how to make a podcast. Do we know how to make this podcast? We're going to find out. I go on the journey, the adventure. I talk to the person. So in my mind, there's always like clay. And then I go back and I'll be like, listen, guys, this is what I got. I think you particularly are good for this. You have experiences. What do you think about this shape? It's a lump of clay now, but it looks like something. And they're like, okay, let me listen. Let me see. And they like, TK, okay, I refined the shape. What do you think about this? And let's add color to it. And let's do that. That's what the producer is doing. And then, of course, the usual like edit and the cuts and stuff like that. But like, we in it together. We in it together. One of the stories already took a little left turn because the things I hear and what they're receiving is also different. One of them was like, I'm actually not hearing what you're hearing, TK. So what do you think about going this way? And I'm like, sis, what? Let's do it. Push my way back.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it speaks to the power of collaboration. So many of us, and this speaks to the sustainability of the work. It speaks to what you said earlier about people just going out and getting a mic and having an idea and saying, I'm just going to go. And then it might not last for too long because you didn't really have a plan. You don't know where to go beyond that first thought. And so it becomes a sustainability effort. And part of my point and purpose in life, especially when it comes to podcasting, is that we don't just enter the space, but we stay in the space.
Right.
And that takes collaboration, that takes partnership, that takes that openness and willingness to allow people to support you during the journey. And so this is such a collaborative effort, and I think is the heart of what that gets to look like.
Yeah. And collaboration, that's it. Like trust and collaboration, right? Bondfire Radio, collaboration. TK and the AM, collaboration. Anytime I'm somewhere, collaboration. It's 4 folks right now. When I first approached these 4 people, they were able to reflect what I was looking for, because they were like, oh, that makes so much sense, TK. This idea, this thing that you're asking of me to do and to help with, this is so you. Because they were like, I was just waiting for you to show up.
Word.
So collaboration, bro, like that's 25. Let's do this.
Yeah, word up. Okay, I love that. So through Philo's Future Media, you help podcasters bring their visions to life. What do you think separates a great podcast idea from one that actually gets produced successfully?
The greatest ideas take time. And if you don't have time, they take money. So which one is it going to be?
Right on.
Honestly, that's it. Because with time, you can think, you can iterate. That doesn't mean you just iterate till you can't. You got to put something out eventually. Give yourself a deadline. If you don't have money, then you need time. If you're sitting here thinking this thing will come out next year, I keep telling people, you say you want it to come out in April, that should be next April, because this shit is going to change so much. You can feel when something has been given the consideration of time. And then if you don't have time, you got to have money. And to make a great podcast, you need to have quality people, quality whatever. So the same quality that you would get with a longer time span and a little more flexibility, you might have to pay for that. And you might have to pay double for that if you want it to come out this April.
Yeah.
This
Word
American April. So
yeah,
I think that's the difference in terms of process. And then like great and good and whatever, that's up to the listener low key. Because there's a lot of great podcasts that like don't resonate with me. And there's a lot of podcasts that people think that suck that I actually find a kernel of value in, right? Like I can figure out, okay, that person is absolutely awful, but I see what they did there.
Yeah.
It gets taken from all these places to make your thing successful.
What are the biggest challenges independent podcasters face in sustaining their work, and how do you guide them through that?
Yeah, biggest challenges, I would say motivation is a big challenge, because you can second guess yourself. I second guess myself every time. Like the minute I uploaded that thing and I sent it to you, I was like, is it good enough? It got to be good enough today. Motivation, because if you walk away from something for too long, when you let that die down, you'll never go back to it. So one of the biggest challenges is motivation. Of course, funding, always funding. And that feeling of no one's listening. Can anyone hear me? And for me, it's very holistic, because I'm not a numbers person. I'm just a regular person. I don't want to get my feelings hurt either. So I have to remind people that like you are one human being in a sea of billions of human beings. And out of those billions of people, a couple billion make podcasts. And out of the million podcasters, your podcast is also a drop in. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure people are putting themselves in perspective, right? Like everybody ain't going to come on the first day. It's small building blocks. So I try to hold their hand through these moments where they're like, no one's coming. And I go, okay, let's go through the tape. Is there any reason no one should come? Is the intro too long? Are they leaving the podcast at a certain time? We can fix that. But feeling bad about yourself, feeling negative feelings about what you're doing, don't do that. Because even like any piece of media, I always say it takes a very brave person to do even a bad piece of media, right? Because they still showed up and they still had the bravery to show us their product. So I go, okay, let's make sure it's not you first. Let's go through the tape. Let's look at the receipts. Did you try everything? Did you try every avenue? Okay, now let's see if it's in your head. So I do a little bit of both. Let's just make sure you tried everything and not down ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's my approach to it.
Yeah. And I respect that. Most people haven't exhausted the first 2 possibilities, let alone all of them.
Right.
before they
Yeah.
quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we've been socialized to a point where those things happen. So
Yeah.
it takes folks who have fucked around and found out several
Yeah.
times over to provide guidance and support, right? And all of that fucking around and finding out, because you can't find out without it. And so it is important for folks who have done that experimenting and experiencing, like we've talked about, to share, mentor, be the old head that can support the new head, but also there are new heads that can support the old head, because they get cutting right to the chase and they done found something that makes their life easier, that because I'm stuck on my Gen X thought about it, my analog thought about it, that I'm still doing shit like I'm Fred Flintstone burning my feet on the ground. You know what I mean? No, they actually got, they made things where you just push a pedal now. Oh, shit. Okay. That's going to make my life easier. So yeah, it's important. So I appreciate that insight, because you have been at this for a while. And what's important is that you bring not just the podcasting understanding, because before podcasting was radio. And through that radio aspect, there became this independence of people who were in radio. You didn't have to get, picked up and signed and put on a station. You could say, oh, I can create a radio station right here, right now. And there's a terrestrial radio. And although all of that's been around for a long time, it's not often that you meet someone who's gone through the whole phases of audio. So I say all that to say, listen to TK. That's all.
Thank you.
That's
Talib.
the post. That's the post.
That's the sweet right there.
You've been involved with major podcast productions like Thirst Aid Kit and Function with Anil Dash. What lessons did you take from these experiences into your own company?
Honestly, Talib, what I'm taking into it is what I don't want. Right?
Got it.
What I don't want is all these extra hands in the sauce. When your show represented or presented by a conglomerate, a big umbrella, you are beholden to them. And I don't want that. So I do all kinds of shows, but like the ones I love most to work with people on their projects have been like social justice shows and whatnot. And I always ask, because you got to ask, who's giving me notes? How many cooks in the kitchen? And if they have a laundry list of 17 different people, this is not what I want to do. Because if you can't talk your shit with minimal like oversight, then I don't know whose directions to follow. And all these other places had too many opinions on what could or could not happen or be said, because of course, shareholders, right? So as an independent company, I don't have shareholders. I'm the shareholder. So yeah, we're going to fact check. Yeah, we're going to do all that stuff. But I don't need 17 people nitpicking at my shit or at your shit and our shit. That's what I learned I don't want to bring in. Whose voice matters to me most is the person I'm working with, the host, the other producer, if there's another producer on the job, and then part of their staff that like is actually close to the podcast. But this is motherfucker from God knows VP or whoever, whatever.
Yeah.
No. So the main theme is, why are these four motherfuckers here? It's all just a corporate theater.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with corporate theater. I'm just enjoying my time working with people that want to get a product out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so important. It provides a perspective that there are a lot of independent podcasters who are looking for the Joe Rogan level podcast or Joe Budden or Drink Champs and stuff like that. And the reason why they seemingly are independent, the reason why they talk their shit is because of the money that they are bringing into said corporation. And they get to rock because it's all about capitalism. Their bottom line is what matters, not the consumer or the listener. It's really about how they're making money. For anyone else, every opportunity is not an opportunity. Whoever pays the piper gets to pick the tune. And that's why when musicians begin to understand that, I can get my music out without a record label forever. Don't talk to me. I can do this without a record label, and I will. Because your advancement is got to be paid back, and you want to tell me what's good and what's not when you have no clue, and you're going to stifle my creativity. And so what we want to encourage podcasters to really think about is, yes, they could pick you up, and that's great, but they're going to now give you notes about things that you've been doing on your own successfully. In order for them to pick you up in the first place, they saw something in you, and now they're going to try to reshape
into a shape that fits their bucket, their audience, or whatever. And I'm just like, man, like the notes. I've worked on some pilots that have never seen the light of day.
Right.
Notes that I've gotten, especially as a producer of a lot of times of content that is Black focused. You thinking I'm like doing something for the community, and the notes come back and they're like, can you water this down some more? We don't think people understand. And guess what? That's how we got here.
Yeah.
Where we're now as a nation.
Yeah.
Watering it down over and over again.
Yeah.
And, that's a big thing that I'm very scared of and cognizant of. Watering down. The person that pays the bills gets to write the story. So how we are made to perceive them is all based on how much money they've been able to throw at that storyline. You can make anything sound like whatever you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
I'll just give an example. The Diddy documentary on Netflix, right? 2 years ago, I watched it. It was about him. And I was like, man, this motherfucker did a lot. I was inspired. And yeah, you could still get inspired by scumbags. But now look at us in 2025, right? The story is different. But if you look, executive produced by Sean Combs, he paid for that storyline to be constructed.
Yeah.
Right? And it still delivered the effect to me that he wanted it to deliver. But now looking 2 years later, 2025, motherfuckers in jail, right? So who's going to write that story now? So I've also seen a lot of manipulation of our media, of podcasting by the people that are paying for podcasts to be made.
Yeah.
So I just want that awareness to be out there.
Absolutely. And let that be, it's a cautionary tale, but it's also something that the artist, the creator, gets to really understand that the only reason why they looked at you in the first place because you were already doing the damn thing. And and what can you do to continue to do it, but understanding that you don't have to look externally for the opportunity that they are seemingly getting you. Now, this should also actually be the awareness that you got it. And how can you go harder on picking the partners that are aligned and can really elevate you, but in an elevation way that won't stamp you out of the process. It's important, and that's why I just wanted to take the time to talk about this, because everything that is glittery ain't gold. It's 2025. Yeah, it's 2025. Let's stop at some point. I'm going to wrap this up because, again, I could talk to you forever, and we can, but I wanted to make sure that people really understand the work that you have done, the work that you are doing, and that as much as you have behind you, we ain't done. We ain't even seen it. We don't even know. They don't know yet. So that's the beauty of unfolding and evolving and being still in an industry that has sometimes broken, discouraged us, but also that we are still happy about the creation part, being a part of something that we know can and gets to look different. We're just going to have to keep figuring that part out. So I'm happy that no matter what, you're still here. You're still pushing it forward.
Thank you for saying that. Over the years and even yesterday, have continually questioned being here, being in this space professionally. It's been a journey. It's been hard. And like I said, even yesterday was like, man, is this shit good enough? Why am I not up here? And why am I still here? Is it about me? I constantly go through that in my mind. And sometimes I'll take myself all the way down and you won't be able to hear from me for a couple of days because it's very discouraging out here sometimes. But remembering, thank you for saying it, firstly, being able to talk to you and then have myself mirrored back to me in a way that will take me through this day, this literal day, and saying, oh shit, you know what? I spoke to Talib, and he reminded me. And I just want to hope for everyone listening to this and hope for everyone in the world that they have people around them that could reflect their greatness back to them when times are tough.
Yeah.
Times are always going to be tough.
Word up. And it's all entertainment media industries. You saw Taraji going through it a year or so ago about just why and when. right? Like, why are we still going through this, and when will it change, right? And this is something that we have endured for quite a long time, but I can say that I'm sick to death of it. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Ooh.
And again, what do we do? And I feel like this community and this type of collaborations are our way forward. And we simply have to continue to push for that and show the value in one another. Because looking for other people to see it, that becomes its own hurdle.
Yeah.
So I just focus up and make sure that we see it.
That's it. All we got is us.
So I want to talk about really quickly, you're a board member of the Association of Independents in Radio.
Yeah.
What are some initiatives or conversations happening around equity and sustainability in audio?
This is great timing because the new updated rate guide is coming out.
Yeah.
Like, it's been every couple of years we have to update that. Even the last one was more helpful. Like it gets more and more helpful every time. I think this version is going to be one that helps a lot of people even more. It's more clear. Mm-hmm. It also speaks to the employer more about expectations, right? Okay. Roles, about where to start and how to gauge that. It takes into consideration independence, how much we get paid, why we would take a lower rate sometimes, and why we might want a higher rate sometimes. We took surveys and asked people, like, people were very forthcoming. Like, how much you getting paid for this? What are your roles? What are you doing? And I think we got that information collated and down to something that people could understand. And I think this next version is going to do a lot for us in the industry. And then in terms of skill building, AIR always has the sound path classes. So there's no reason to not have skills or just someone to call. If you're a member of AIR and you literally just be like, yo, I need to talk to somebody. That happened to me in my early days. I had some issues and I was like, here's my issue. And they were like, you know what? I think we have someone that has been through something similar. Let's get you guys together so we can talk off a ledge. And that's what happened. And that's what kind of gave me the confidence and belief to continue in this professional organization. We should all be part of some professional organizations that help us get better. AIR has been helping me get better.
Yeah, AIR is instrumental in the advocacy of freelance audio professionals. And I think it is such an important organization. And why one of the reasons for Afros in Audio, again, is that we are there for the podcast creator and the audio professional, because there is an ecosystem of this work and need the support, the services, the guidance of folks who are behind the scenes when we're in front of the mic. And to me, it's sustainability. To me, it's opportunity. But it all matters. And so just really driving home the importance of the audio professional in whatever capacity, because that's a broad term for a lot of different titles and roles, that they're important to support of our podcast sustainability. And there are limiting beliefs around audio professionals. I can't afford them being one of the main ones. So I'll just do it all on my own until I realize I can't. So we need audio professionals, whether they're working on the podcast or you're gaining insight and understanding of how to do it. These are the necessary folks in your toolkit, in your resource, in your support system that we need. And it's important that we know each other exists and that we work together.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. One thing you wish more podcasters, especially new and independent creators, understood about building a sustainable podcast.
Make sure your life can accommodate the podcast. Don't make the podcast accommodate your life. Many things to do. Be honest about it. Be honest. So you say to yourself, I only have 30 minutes a day. Okay. 30 minutes a day, Monday to Friday. Let's say you're just doing it on the weekdays. What are you doing with the 30 minutes on Monday? Am I scripting? On Tuesday, am I recording that script? On Wednesday, am I editing that shit? On Thursday, you know what I'm saying? Am I putting a press release out, telling niggas it's coming on? Am I doing social media? On Friday, do I put it out? Podcasting is hard work. There are levels of thinking that go into it. A lot of it is very prep forward, like in the beginning, and then you could get on the mic and rock. If you prep ahead before you even touch the microphone, you will be so much better once you get on the microphone. All this shit where we motherfuckers are freestyling, we off that. Prepare, okay? You're not a rapper. Prepare.
Yeah.
So prepare as much as you can on the front end and really be real about yourself. How much time do you have? Okay, I only got this much time. Also, roles. If you're doing it with a friend, a partner, whatever, get them roles straight, please. Because there'll always be a duo or a group, and this person is just, I just want to show up. And this person is, but we still have to do social. We still have to write this notes. We still have to do this, that, and the third. And I think people think that just because they're in a friend group, that it's just going to naturally fall into a rhythm.
Yeah.
It does not. Like, you don't know really how your friend treats work till work happens.
Yeah.
So these are my top 3 things.
Yeah. It's that opportunity to really, I think sometimes, again, whether it's inherited beliefs or limiting beliefs or socialized, constructed beliefs, whatever it is, where we don't take ourselves serious enough in times where there is value there. And if we were able to see ourselves as serious creators and that sort of thing, we may approach it a little different. And again, I only say that because our sustainability is at stake. Our contribution to this industry is at stake if we don't really approach this in a way that says, we're here to take what's ours.
Right.
And I can't take it if I'm getting on the battlefield with flimsy shit or things that will jam or won't work. I'm saying retreat. And we gotta go back. We don't need to go back. We can't afford it.
We need to go forward.
Yeah.
We got to be clear, man. And sometimes being clear means you can't do it right now. Right?
Yes. Respect.
You know?
Where can listeners support the work, and how can they get involved with Philo's future media and The Secret Life of TK?
Oh, thank you for asking. My regular person self is at Tasty Quiche on IG. Follow me. I just be doing stuff. But all the stuff will be at Philo's Future Media. That's PHILOS, Philo's Future Media, named after my grandmother, Philomen, who passed. I'm her future, and I do media, Philo's Future Media. You can find all that there. And The Secret Life of TK, we have a little teaser on all places that you can find podcasts. So you just dial that up, follow the show, subscribe to the show, and when it's ready, it'll be in your thing. Boop, boop, boop.
Nice. Anything else you want to leave with the people? Anything else you want to make sure that we don't leave this table without mentioning?
Like, I want to say live, bro. Like, a lot of us come from many different avenues before we even got to podcasting or whatever type of media that we do. All of that matters. All of that counts. I had a whole nother life before this. I'm having a whole nother life as we speak. And I know I'm going to have a life after this. So all of that counts in your storytelling, in the way you produce, in the way you manage teams. You brought all that to the table. It all counts. So when you are afforded an opportunity to live life to the fullest, I just want people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just fucking live.
Yeah.
Because I promise it will come back. It will be full circle. So allow your mind to expand. Allow yourself to live. And know that it's going to be 3 different TKs beyond this. And I can't wait to meet that bitch.
Yeah. Word up. I can't either, but I'm happy to know the one that I know right now too. But I do want to ask you about Afros and Audio really quickly. Your experience with the conference. You were at the 2019 conference, and you've been there throughout, whether you've physically been at the conference or simply in support of myself, which I've really needed and appreciate. But talk about Afros and Audio a little bit.
Yeah, yo. Afros and Audios is one of the places that I go to find, I guess, I don't want to be flowery, but family, fam, and like-minded people that are doing things in their community. Like, it always reminds me, like, yo, I'm just a look in the mirror away. Yo, y'all are really validating the things that I've been through, the things that I'm going through, and also giving me shit to think about every year. That I've been coming since 2019, and even when I can't make it, I'm there. I'll find my way. Somehow, I'll find my way on y'all live, or your social, or I'll just come down for a day. I might not could make all 3, but I always am validated to be why I'm here, why I'm doing this. Afros and Audio does that for me. Also, different levels of education, people that I've had as quote unquote students or mentees, they're leading conversations. And that shit is so exciting to me. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. Afros and Audio. So plug with it head.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate this conversation. Thank you for your time. your resume is something that is super inspiring, something that I just think you deserve all the good, whatever that looks like, and however you measure that and however you want it to receive it. I just can't wait to see all the things that we haven't seen yet. I just think you're so important to this industry, and we got work to do still.
Work to do. Let's go. Thank you,
Yeah.
Talib, for the opportunity, for the honor. I was just waiting to be asked, friend.
Here we
I
are.
appreciate you and what
Yeah.
you do for the community, bro. Till the next Afros and Audios. Let's go.